Hello, hockey fans. It is Wednesday, July 2nd in the United States and Canada, and this is a show called What Chaos presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code WhatChaos and get $50 instantly when you play $5 Prize Picks. Run your game in Boston, Massachusetts in the off-season. My name is David Bean. I sit beside Pete Blackburn, and across the room is a very gradient-bordered Sean DePaz. How are you, darling?
I'm all right.
That was very defensive. I'm all right.
Mm-hmm. I'm all right.
What did you do?
Stop asking.
What did you do?
Nothing. I'm just all right.
Sean's
All right.
big. I'm just having a normal one. I'm breezy. It's all good.
Find a new slant. I'm all
You
right.
celebrate that Ryan McLeod extension a little too hard, buddy? You're looking a little like you got drugs in your eyes.
The most excitement I had yesterday. That's
not true.
That's not true.
No.
I played rematch a lot.
I still haven't played a rematch, but I'm very excited about it.
Very fun.
This is our last regularly scheduled show of the season. So
yeah, we're gonna fuck off to Siberia.
Plenty of video game time. But I mean, we were headed into July 1st yesterday, expecting really like no action, no fun. We did our stream yesterday, and I think we had very low energy starting the stream, but shit happened, man.
We had
and it
good
was fun.
energy leaving the stream when we woke. It was big, like the teacher. The tone changed. You could tell where they're starting to say, all right, and don't forget that tomorrow, and you're like, oh, class is over. Fuck yeah, let's get out of here. All right, amazing. We're not going to, it's not, I didn't put it in there, but Ryan McLeod contract, Sean, like maybe the best contract signed yesterday outside of Logan Stankoven. That's a good contract, dude.
I mean, I'm happy with it for sure. He was very good for us. Won the Savoy trade, pending, subject to change, but won the Savoy trade. I'm happy with it.
I did notice that from the reaction to it, because I was wondering if Sabres fans are just jaded and miserable. I saw that contract and I was like, second line center. I mean, ideally he's a third line center, but like second line center for $5 million a year, that is unbelievable.
Buffalo likes McLeod.
Ryan McLeod can't be your biggest offseason acquisition 2 years in a row.
No, it's not.
You would think.
That's Michael.
You would
Castle,
think.
That's Michael Castlering erasure.
Oh, true.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Kevin Adams has not made any missteps quite yet, other than letting Bernard Docker leave for nothing. I'm not crazy about that. But otherwise,
That's Sabres
all
talk
right.
for the day, unless they sign Nikolaj Ehlers. Pete, tell the folks it's on the show.
Today on the show, we are gonna discuss Hurricane Keandre. Keandre Miller is going to the Carolina Hurricanes, and he's a defenseman, which means that he's gonna fucking rock, and everybody knows it. So we'll also talk about Money Sweeney, because Don Sweeney was spending yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Did he spend well? The answer will not surprise you. Holland ballin'. Ken Holland is back in the league, baby, and he is active. Also derogatory. And Shayna Goldman is going to join the show, making her What Chaos debut. We love Shayna. She does great work. She is an absolute machine. Very excited to have her pick her brain. She is one of the sharpest minds, I would say, in hockey.
How are you been doing your shady rays?
What do you mean?
Do you pop in prescriptions in those things?
Can I not read? Did I read incorrectly?
Uh-oh, Sean, want to toss it back up?
What did I get wrong?
It does look like
Sweeney.
it if you glance at it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it says Midney Sweeney, which is also pretty good.
That's more to the point. But both are right. He was spending.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin We'll give you Ehlers updates as they come, but the latest one from Chris Johnston is that he's deciding between a few teams and maybe a decision's going to come today. And the teams that have been out there are obviously the Carolina Hurricanes. We've been talking about that for a while. Frank Saravalli said watch out for the Washington Capitals, which is interesting. I want to talk about the Hurricanes, though, off the rip, because they make that big trade. First, they sign Logan Stankoven to an unbelievable contract.
Unbelievable.
And then they make the big trade. They bring in K'Andre Miller, left shot defenseman, sign him for 8 times $7.5 million. They give up a lot to get him. Mm-hmm. They give up 2 draft picks, including a 2026 first, which, if 2026 firsts are traded, is top 10 protected. Heavily protected pick, so it's not going to turn into Gavin McKenna, Keaton Verhoff, whomever. But they trade that. They trade a second-round pick. They trade a prospect, Scott Morrow, guy who was taken high in the draft, and they get K'Andre Miller. Now, K'Andre Miller, as he was discussed in New York, was definitely not a problem, but on a team that was stinking and underwhelming, people were like, we wish this guy could be better. Offseason comes, Carolina Hurricanes swoop in, trade a bunch for him when there's rumors that there could be an offer sheet, and now everyone should be thinking Rangers fans are going to be pissed because, as you said, he goes to a team where defensemen go to thrive. He's going to be amazing. We were texting about it yesterday. If anybody has any K'Andre Miller stock that they would like to sell, we will pay double.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I like it from both sides because, like you mentioned, the K'Andre Miller, like if you were to tell Rangers fans you were going to get that much and he was going to get that much on his next contract, they would have said, okay, cool. Let's move on. And Gavrikov going to the Rangers, I think, makes them a better defensive team. And so, like, every side kind of wins here. But ultimately, if any other team had sent this package and spent this money on K'Andre Miller, I would not feel nearly as good about it as I do with the Carolina Hurricanes because all they fucking do is acquire defensemen and turn them into monsters on their own blue line. So there is no doubt in my mind that K'Andre Miller is going to hit another level with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Except for Gustav Forsling. They let him slip through their fingers.
Yes.
Someone else turned him into a good deal.
Famously. Okay, K'Andre Miller gets $7.5 million per year, which, as you said, outside of the Hurricanes, that's risky. That's the second biggest AAV handed out to a defenseman yesterday. Ivan Provorov got $8.5 million. You look at what's being thrown around for some of these players. I take trading for, we went into the day, I texted you guys, I was like, someone's going to trade for K'Andre Miller today. I didn't know that they were going to give him this big of a contract, but when defensemen, left or right side, are at such a premium, I'd much rather trade for the tall 25-year-old if you've got the assets, which the Hurricanes absolutely do. This trade, they have so many assets that the pick that's going to go to the Rangers in this deal is going to be the higher of the Hurricanes and the Stars' first-round pick because they have both of those anyway. So they've got the assets. They've also got $19 million in cap space after this. So they could have, theoretically, by the end of free agency, re-upped a young star player in Logan Stankoven for a very long time at a great number.
That number is so good that like Logan Stankoven should fire his agent.
I thought about that. I was trying to say that nicely yesterday.
That number is so fucking unbelievable. It was 6 by 6, right?
Yeah, 8 by 6.
8 by 6. Jesus Christ, fire your agent.
I mean, if he becomes what we know he's going to become, that's an unbelievable contract for the team. And then they get a top 4 defenseman, and now they still definitely have the dough if they want to sign Nikolaj Ehlers. And remember, last year was not supposed to be the year for the Hurricanes. That was supposed to be a transitional year. If they're transitioning into what it looks like they're going to have now, they're going to be unbelievable. So watch out for them. I think the Capitals are going to fall off a little bit. I think we all expect them to. And watch out for the Carolina Hurricanes in the Metro. Another option for Ehlers, though, is the Capitals, who lost Andrew Mangiapane. He went to the Oilers. We'll talk about that briefly. They don't have a ton of cap space, $6.9 million, but what would you make of Ehlers to the Capitals? They had a quiet day yesterday.
Had a quiet day, and he wouldn't. It would excite me. Like, it's a nice little ad. I feel like if we're talking about reshifting like the powers in the Eastern Conference, just go to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
The Ehlers to the Hurricanes would be probably the most fun outcome in that sweepstakes, right?
Definitely. I mean, we thought before we even knew where Marner was going to go, we're like, he's probably they probably want Marner, and he'll probably go somewhere else. Just go out and sign Ehlers right away. Besser signing with the Canucks makes it that much more important because we're going to talk about some teams that needed top 6 help and did not get it, but the Hurricanes always had the money to go get one of these guys. They obviously didn't make it work with Rantanen, so yes, jump in, go get him.
Yeah.
Why not the Blue Jackets, though? They have $19.6 million in cap space after signing Ivan Provorov, and they can give him the first-line left wing job. If I had to root for one team to get him, I know we just said definitely would love him for the Hurricanes. Why not the Blue Jackets? They can give him everything he wants, including if he wants to be on a contender. Blue Jackets are going to be a contender. Like maybe not next year, but everyone's going to be a year older. He's going to play with Fantilli and Marchenko. That's an awesome first line. Or if not Fantilli, he plays with Sean Monahan, which is an awesome, whether that's you want to do like a Bergeron Krejci thing, who's the first line center there. That's what the Hurricanes are going to have, and they have more help coming in future years. If I'm Ehlers and Blue Jackets will give me top dollar, I'm going there.
Yeah, I mean, Ehlers going to Carolina would have the biggest immediate implications, but I would feel so good for the Blue Jackets if they won that sweepstakes and got an unbelievable player to add to what is already an awesome, fun group down there. And fit-wise, like opening-wise, I think that is like the clearest path for him, right? Like in terms of a team that makes a ton of sense and really, really could use him. And they want to make a big splash this offseason. That would certainly be it.
Someone said, talk about the Kings' horrible signings. We will talk about the Kings' signings later. We don't use that kind of language around here. Pete uses it before the show sometimes, but we don't use that kind of language here. Let's talk about the Bruins. Fire alarm thing is going crazy.
Somebody's just breathing into this fire alarm thing. It's
heavy
horrifying.
Breathing.
It's Darth Vader shit.
It's panted like they're calling, hanging up the phone. Very, very creepy.
They're gooning up there.
Yes, they're gooning. They're gooning badly. The Bruins were 28th in goals scored last season. They needed to add at least one top 6 forward, probably 2. They had money to spend, and they went into free agency, and they spent it. However, they did not really address scoring. They took Victor Arvidsson from the Oilers. That's 1 year at $4 million. Then they go on a 4th-line spree, and I guess I could call that a bottom 6 spree, but I'll call it a 4th-line spree. They signed Tanner Jeannot from the Kings, 5 years times $3.4 million. A little comparison there. Tanner Jeannot got more money than Andrew Mangiapane did. Let's move on. They signed Sean Corrali, old friend, 2 years times $1.85 million, and they signed Mikey Eyssimont, 2 years times $1.45 million. In doing all of this, and they also signed other guys. They signed Matej Blumel, the Czech forward who played in the AHL last year for Texas, is kind of a 4-8 type player. Maybe you hope that he can score at the NHL level. But anyway, they went and they spent a lot of money. They did really spend. They don't have a ton of cap space anymore. And I was reading something from Jonathan Willis on his Substack today, because that's right, I'm cool. Every now and then I will peruse the hockey Substacks. And Jonathan Willis posted something about the one thing the Florida Panthers do that other teams, to a degree, can kind of do themselves. A lot of it, you cannot have Sasha Barkov. He's already on the Florida Panthers. You cannot have Matthew Tkachuk. There's only one of them that exists. But one of the things that the Florida Panthers do that your team can try to do is sign your depth players to the veteran minimum. And if they want more than the veteran minimum, sign them for $1 more than the veteran minimum. Because that is basically what the Florida Panthers do. They just re-signed Tomas Nosek yesterday. You know what it was? It was 1 year times $775,000 or whatever the number is, $775K. And he noted what Nosek was when he got to Florida, what he did last year, and what raise he got. He got a $0 raise. He had a good year with Florida last year. Obviously, it was very big. Johnny the Joke Man will talk your ear off about what an impact he made in Game 3 against the Maple Leafs in the second round, and they didn't give him a raise. Meanwhile, you have the Bruins signing fourth liners to nearly $3.5 million contracts, nearly $2 million AAV contracts, nearly $1.5 million AAV contracts. And afterwards, I know I'm talking a lot here, afterwards, Don Sweeney talked about the juice and the competitiveness, and they're going to be hard to play against. I think Don Sweeney knows the Bruins stink, and they're not going to be good, so he didn't even try, seemingly, to get top six help. They added one. I told you they were 28th in goals scored. They added 10 goal scorer from last year. 10 goal scorer from last year among a million guys they signed.
Yeah, I mean, all the signings are not exciting. The Arvidsson trade, not exciting. The only one that I'm going to lose sleep over is the Tanner Jeannot signing. And it's just, that signing is so unnecessary and so fucking stupid. And like, that's not me saying Tanner Jeannot sucks or saying I don't want Tanner Jeannot on my team. Tanner Jeannot is a fit for the Bruins, and he's a useful bottom six player, but you do not need to give overterm and overpayment both at the same time to these bottom six fourth line profiled players. Tanner Jeannot scored 24 goals and 41 points in 2021-22 for the Nashville Predators, and he has been overvalued by 3 separate teams since then, and he has not delivered since then. Since then, in 3 seasons, he has a combined 20 goals and 25 assists. The Tampa Bay Lightning massively overvalued Tanner Jeannot. They traded a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a fifth-round pick in one of the worst trades that we have seen in the last decade in the NHL. And then the Bruins go out, they give him 5 years, which is more than he should get, and they give him $3.5 million, $3.4 million per year, which is more than he should get. The AFP Analytics, who we always cite as the most accurate projection model for contracts in the NHL, projected that Tanner Jeannot would get 2 years at $1.4 million per year. So he gets 3 more years and $2 million more per year to come to the Boston Bruins. And I always say, we say it all the time, if you identify a guy you want, go ahead and overpay. Go ahead and overcommit. But when we say overcommit, pick a lane. Overcommit on the years, overcommit on the dollars. Don't do both, especially for a player who is going to be in your bottom 6, who profiles as a fourth liner. Those are replacement level guys. It is unbelievable that they keep fucking doing this. It's not an isolated incident for Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. They do it all the time, whether you want to make the commitment about, or the comparison to David Backes, whether you want to make the comparison to Matt Bolesky. They constantly overcommit to these bottom of the roster guys, and it doesn't kill you, but it makes you a worse team because it hampers things that you can do down the line.
Okay, they overpaid on term and the whole thing by 2.5. I did the math. 3.4 divided by 1.4 is 2.42. And 5 years versus 2 years, that is 2.5 times what he was projected to get. The fact that other teams have overpaid for him makes me think that he probably had offers that were kind of crazy like that. But what do we say when there's a crazy offer? Like, I remember saying this about the Bruins in 2015 when they reached for Zach Senyshyn, and they had intel that somebody was going to take him in the first round.
Let them take him. Yeah, right. Let somebody else make the mistake.
If you like a guy and you think that someone's going to reach for him crazily, do you like him more than everybody else? Because there are other things that you can do with that. And the fact that I would get this more if they signed him for this money at 3 years because they figured, you know what? We're going to stink. We're not going to win a lot of games, but we need to give some sort of good product, and we need to make it so the young players that we have coming up learn how to play the game the right way and they don't hate their lives. But you think you're going to be like this for 5 years? And yeah, the cap's going up. So $3.4 million for Tanner Jeannot. Like, I'm sorry, I can't have this conversation 2 weeks in a row. We just had it with Trent Frederick, and that's still not a good contract. We have to have it again now with Tanner Jeannot. Guys, read the thing from Jonathan Willis, and it's not, people aren't going to enjoy it if they don't like to hear the TAX word, because part of why the Panthers obviously can pay guys the veteran minimum is because the veteran minimum there is a lot more than the veteran minimum somewhere else. But like, wouldn't it make sense to pay the worst players on your roster the lowest money you can pay them? Wouldn't it make sense? Like, has anybody worked for a company? The people at the top make the CEOs or whatever make millions of dollars. And then the people, I used to say it all the time in our field, that there was no such thing as like a $50,000 journalist. There was someone either making $100,000 or there was somebody making $20,000.
Yeah.
And that's not good, but that's just how that business could be. You can't pay your top guys $1 bajillion and pay your bottom guys $5.
Yeah. I mean, somebody in the chat says Saravalli reported that 13 teams were after Jeannot.
I believe it.
Great. Don't get into a bidding war for Tanner Jeannot.
Get into one for Brock Besser.
Right.
No problem
even
there.
that, like, I wouldn't love it, but like, he's a more impactful player than Tanner Jeannot. And I'm going to root for Tanner Jeannot. Like, I want Tanner Jeannot to be good. My problem with it is that they overcommitted, and reclamation projects should not be expensive. Reclamation projects should you taking a flyer or pick a lane. Like, reclamation projects should not be expensive, and it's just they shouldn't come with this much risk. And that's my problem with it at the end of the day. And it's just, it annoys me that now Tanner Jeannot is going to be like this guy who everybody fucking hates because Don Sweeney or Cam Neely gave him a bad deal. And a lot of people are killing Don Sweeney for this. I really think that this is a Cam Neely thing because, again, it is a problem that keeps happening over and over with this front office. And Cam Neely has to sign off on these deals because he is Don Sweeney's boss. And if Don Sweeney had struck out on a few of these deals before and Cam Neely didn't like how they worked out, probably wouldn't sign off on this one. So I feel like it is a Cam Neely decision to keep going after these players. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the case.
I mean, one of these two people was a undersized, puck-moving-ish defenseman, and one of them was a power forward. So who would you guess is saying, get me that guy who's going to drop the gloves if he needs to? You know what doesn't happen anymore? The gloves getting dropped. You know why we talked so much about the beginning of that USA-Canada Four Nations game? Because it was something that doesn't happen anymore. We got to see it, and it was very exciting.
And then, like, it happened in Four Nations. Who won Four Nations?
The team that didn't want to do that.
Yeah, the team that didn't go on the media tour afterwards because they got in the fights. Like, yeah. That's just...
But
it's an important element to have, and that's why I think that Tanner Jeannot is a useful player. I think that you do win that way by being nasty, but you win that way by not spending a ton of money on it and not overcommitting to it, and then also having the guys who score at the top of your lineup, and the Bruins just don't have those guys right now.
But this is still what I will say in defense of Don Sweeney is he knew that he wasn't signing anybody who scores goals. He knew that.
Why, though? Why did he know that? Why don't you go out and get a Nikolaj Ehlers?
So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he could have done that, and he didn't. So, does that tell you that he doesn't think this team is good, or that this team shouldn't be trying to do what the Bruins of 5 years ago would have done, which is at some point, hey, you got to pay the piper, and they would say, no, we're going for it. No, we're going for it. This is an offseason in which they clearly are not going for it. It's weird to me that they're still spending. I don't know if maybe they want to not be criticized for spending to the cap, but they're
Spend
not
the cap on 1-year deals then.
Yes.
Like they're spending on multi-year deals, which like if they're tanking this year, if that's their goal, if they want to end up in the lottery for that Gavin McKenna
That's
lottery
the thing.
ticket, then go ahead and do that. Fill your roster spots with 1-year deals on overpayments because you have the money to spend, and then reassess next year on what should be a better free agent class and spend that money again next year. But to give out a 5-year deal in 2 years to Sean Corrali, 2 years to Mikey Eastman, like this money is staying on your books.
I think that they are doing what you just said, which is they know that they are not going to make the playoffs. They were the second worst team in the Eastern Conference last year. They know they're not a playoff team. And it makes me wonder what's going to happen with some of these guys that they do have signed. Like at the deadline, are they going to say like, hey, does anyone want Elias Pettersson or Elias Lindholm or some of these guys that they do have signed for a while? Because this draft does have Gavin McKenna. It does have Ryan Robrick. It does have Keaton Verhoff. Like this next year's draft is the one that supposedly is going to get you star players. And I think that it is risky business to just shoot for that because they kind of did that this year down the stretch and they ended up with the 7th overall pick. But I think they are so much closer to getting a top 3 pick than they are to being a playoff team. But I just think, so I think that's what the strategy was. I think it was, we're not going to make the playoffs. Let's not sign anybody that it could age badly and then we're going to be stuck with that. So if it's sign the one I can't excuse, obviously, is the Jeannot one.
Right. And like honestly, up to that point, kind of liked what Don Sweeney was doing. Like the low risk flyer on Victor Arvidsson who could help you. Like he's not going to shift the balance of your top 6, but he's a player that you can plug into your top 6 and see in improved results.
See if he scores goals, and then
Right.
you can trade him at the deadline,
Right.
and then you gave up a 2027 5th-round pick to get a 2026 second-round pick or something like that.
Right. And the rest of the deals are just like they're survivable. But again, the one that you can't excuse is Tanner Jeannot. And I'm just exhausted.
The one I can't excuse is people who don't wear Shady Rays.
Ooh,
That was
nice.
a pretty sleepy transition. Usually a little better than that. But Shady Rays has the best eyewear in all the game. They get you ready for the season ahead, even the season that's happening. Because famously, the summer season is upon us. You want quality shades built to last? Get Shady Rays. They got you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They're an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I wear my Shady Rays really for everything. If I'm blading, if I'm out for a walk, I'm thinking about getting a Fitbit. I don't want to get an Apple Watch, but I think I'm going to get a Fitbit.
You're
Sean?
gonna get a Fitbit?
Yeah.
Get a Garmin.
Why?
Like, are you getting it for like the tracking purposes?
Yeah.
Get a Garmin.
Sean?
I didn't know Fitbits were still a thing.
Yeah.
That's
thought they
why I
went the
want a
way
Fitbit.
of,
I want to
like,
be the guy that in 2025.
Like fighting necklaces.
Then we'll all hear for like the next 6 months about is how like the Fitbit app sucks and it your
Well, I'm going to say
Fitbit
that
is
I'm not going
killing
to know
you.
how to use it no matter what.
Just get a Garmin
Garmin's are way more expensive.
because they're probably better. It's usually how that works.
But I'm
Get
not
what you
going to
pay
use
for,
whatever
brother.
either of these things
I mean,
are anyway.
to be fair, Shady Rays are cheaper than other competitors, and they're
That's
better.
true.
I've
Yeah,
been
so they
dropping,
are better.
I have been dropping my Shady Rays, and I'm not joking because this is my first time wearing sunglasses in 20 years. Like I've been dropping them left and right because I've been putting them in my head, and I'll whip my head and forget they're there, and they'll fall off. Haven't scratched the lenses yet, and my current glasses that are not Shady Rays because they're just regular glasses got scratched within the first week of having them.
If you find a way to break them, which I do agree, Sean, is difficult because it's not good behavior, but it's one of those things like when you drop your phone, when you drop your sunglasses or whatever, and you're like, all right, this is toast. And then you pick them up and you're like,
Yep.
How did nothing happen there? I've experienced that a couple of times with my Shady Rays. Sean apparently experiences it regularly.
I do.
You're doing this.
I've dropped them, I think, every single time that I have worn them out of the house. They have flown off my head. Like, flown off my head, and I've had to, like, do an acrobatic catch because they're
This is the
glasses.
I
what
should
point
leave
do we
skit.
need-
Like, is this the bad read for Shady Rays?
Steering
They
wheel
just fly
flies out of the
sunglasses that just fly off your
fly
head.
out of the car.
At what point do we need to clarify that this is something
User
that
error.
only happens
User
to
error.
Sean.
100% user
These
error.
are
but
not
it is-
slippery shades.
No, it's completely user error. It's 100% the product of the fact that I have literally not been able to wear sunglasses since
Sean's
I was
got a
a
slippery
child.
head.
But I have stress test them, not by choice, but by circumstance, and they have survived immaculately.
Shady Rays are so good that in my experience, I use the 3-pronged system that Shady Rays has. It's proprietary. They've got little, we call them ear rests, where on the sides of the sunglasses,
Finally, glasses that rest on your ears.
yeah, they've got the sticks that you're seeing on kind of both sides. If you just put them straight back on the side of your face, if you put them between your ear and your head, they're going to stay there. And I know what you're thinking. Well, great. They're going to go whoop. No, because humans have invented the proprietary nose that stops them from coming down. And it really is just foolproof.
To be clear, they don't fall off my face.
Yeah, they fly off.
They fall
fly
off
off
the top of my head. Like when I have them resting on the top of my hat or the top of my head, and I can't tell that they're there.
Can we
easily.
just get a poll
They're
going?
meant to be worn, not just hanging off your head.
I mean, they are as much a piece of utility as they are a piece of fashion. Like sometimes you don't need to have the glasses on your face to make a statement.
Could we? All right. Somebody in the chat says they can't get them. They have a slippery head. No, I'm telling
It's
you.
not the head. It is. It is 100% user error. I'm putting the hand up on that. My only reason I brought it up was to prove that I have dropped them a bunch, and they have yet to show any signs of me having dropped them a bunch.
Okay. Is the bridge like worn from how often it just like slides down and is like "Ugh," when it falls off your face?
Yes.
Okay. Sean, I hate to make you put a poll up about yourself, but can you put a poll saying which one doesn't Sean know how to use? Sunglasses or face?
Okay.
I think it's sunglasses, but it could be face. So, exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season at shadyrays.com and use code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Hit Clips. No, I'm just kidding. That was you remember Hit Clips?
Yeah.
This is the stupidest invention of all time.
If you want to hear an iTunes preview of a song,
if you want to hear
but you don't have
14
iTunes
seconds of your favorite song, buy this product. No, it's brought to you by Factor Meal Kits because summer is here, which means more sun, more light, and more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the only thing that you shouldn't be doing this summer is spending a ton of time in the kitchen. Don't spend hours cooking inside. Turn to Factor because Factor has chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. They arrive fresh, ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle over summer and beyond. You're going to get 45 weekly menu options that you can pick from, including gourmet meals that fit your summer gains and goals. You got calorie smart options, protein plus options, keto options, and more. And we're not talking just meals. You're also talking the in-betweens, whether it's breakfast, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, guilt-free snacks, desserts, all things covered. So enjoy the summer. Get Factor if you want all the flavor and none of the fuss. Get started at factormeals.com/whatchaos50off and use code whatchaos50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. One more time, whatchaos50off at factormeals.com/whatchaos50off for 50% off plus free shipping. I lie off.
Whoop.
Whoop is that the ring?
Whoop.
Is that the Whoop ring that tracks?
No, that's the Aura.
Yeah, but I think Whoop is like a wearable.
I think
thing.
it is. I thought it was a wristband though.
Is it a wrist?
Whoop is the comedian and actor who is on the View. Was in that
E. Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg. Yes.
Nice.
Do you ever?
I saw her in one of my recent episodes of my recently sped up, chopped up episodes of Blue Bloods that I watch on Facebook Reels.
Nice.
It's
You know
so
my favorite
fucked.
part of
She gold on my berg till I whoop.
famously, when I do shades, I like the round frames. I like the kind of John Lennon style. It's usually what I'm doing. But usually with some other brands, I can't unlock my phone when I have sunglasses on. So I have to do a little like whoopee, when you go like this
Whoop, there it is.
to get, yes. So people in the chat Stop telling me to get old dated products and tell me more about Whoop. I did a quick Google during that wonderful ad read from Pete. It looks like it's for women, but never skip the women's section. That's what I say. Let's bring in from the Athletic and Too Many Men podcast. It is the great Shayna Goldman, who quite frankly, I hear on the sheet all the time. And now I'm just like, let's steal Jeff Merrick's guests. Hello, Shayna.
Hello. Yeah, I've never heard of Whoop. I felt like I learned a lot listening to those ad reads.
This is not good. Shayna famously is a woman, and if she's not heard of a Whoop, who I think this is targeted for, I don't know, I could be wrong. We'll talk about sewing later because Shayna is also a prolific sewer. Mm-hmm. Shayna, what did you make of the Carolina Hurricanes day one of free agency? Because the Stankoven contract is confusingly amazing to us, and we're just buying all the K'Andre Miller stock.
Yeah, I really liked their entire day. It's funny, I was doing the winners and losers column, and I'm waiting for something else to come, whether it was the Miller deal, whether it was the Ehlers trade, because I really wanted to put them in the winners, but their deal was incomplete by the time I wrote, so they fell out of it. But no, I have them completely and totally as a winner. The Stankoven contract's great because I think we all know he has that second caliber ability, which is what they need this year, right? Whether he plays on the wing, whether he plays at center. I think it's a big bet, but it's the bet that you take on someone when you know he has a really strong skill set and also a skill set that is legitimately perfect for the Carolina Hurricanes, right? Like if you want to just like draw up the ideal Hurricane, you're either coming up with Stankoven or you're coming up with Jarvis. So love that contract. The Miller one is super fun though, because I think that one, it has a lot more intrigue. It has a little bit more, like mystery of whether he can become the player. I think we all want to see him become because he has all the raw tools, all the skill, but it just hasn't come together consistently enough. But the Canes, that's their magic trick, right? Like they take everybody and turn them into a star within the system. So I feel like he just is built for that versus whatever the hell the Rangers have been trotting out the last couple of years.
Yes. Do you have like more faith in K'Andre Miller's next level because he's going to be in Carolina? Because that's where we landed. We were like, oh my God, like, of course he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can look at it two ways too from the Rangers perspective. It's, does he have the potential to become that defenseman and does he have it there? And I think you could say definitely not, right? Like I know they have a new coaching staff coming in, but do you have the faith in the team to turn them into that? And I know people might be upset like they're giving up on someone early and then giving them to a division rival. But at the end of the day, the Rangers aren't going to be able to do what I think the Canes are going to be able to do with him, right? I think that there's this perfect slot for him on the left side of the lineup. And with the Canes, he doesn't have to be the number one guy on the left like he's had to be for the Rangers the last year, number two behind Ryan Lindgren. You're the number two guy behind Jacob Slavin, who I'm sure you're going to learn from a little bit. And you have a strong partner in someone like Chatfield. Like it just feels too perfect of a fit. And you could see ways that he's going to be really good in that system, right? Because he has the foot speed. He has a really long skating stride. He has a disruptive reach. He can break up plays. He can just play a really pesky game. And also he can make that first pass out of the zone. So I think all of that makes a lot of sense for the Canes. It feels like it's what they need because I have less of an issue with the system in Carolina. And I know that came under fire a lot after they lost to the Panthers. I think the system isn't as successful there because they didn't have strong enough pieces within it, right? They have 2 or 3 cornerstone players. They build the rest around. The Panthers have like 8. So I think if you add someone like Miller, it shows they view him as that. And I think that's going to help them in the long run.
Are you confused or as confused as I am by the sentiment from whether it's the Rangers or the Sabres talking about Bowen Byram, where the Rangers are like, there was a threat of the offer sheet with K'Andre Miller, so we had to trade him. The Sabres are like, don't even fucking think about offer sheeting Bowen Byram because we'll match. We're seeing how scared shitless teams are of trading unprotected 2026 first round picks. If I'm the Sabres and I know they don't need any more draft picks, but like, fuck, if someone's going to potentially give me the Gavin McKenna pick, I'm okay with that. So does the fear of offer sheets this year, I get it in other years, but like, does the fear of offer sheets this year confuse you?
Yeah, it feels more real this year, and I think we're seeing some of those RFA contracts get dealt with early, so GMs can avoid that. I think with Bouchard and Nyes, those are two that if you're the Oilers or the Leafs, you're like, please do not offer sheet these guys because we need to control the cost. If you're the Sabres, say, don't bother, we're going to match it, because they don't want draft picks back for him, right? I think because they went for the right-handed D in the Peterka trade, they want a legit top 6 forward. So getting all those draft picks, it's just going to keep them where they are. It's not going to help them. And in theory, you could take the picks you'd get back and try to flip them into something. But I mean, we know the Sabres track record. So I like that they're trying to make it like, okay, don't bother. Don't even waste your time here. The Rangers, on the other hand, though, the threat of offer sheets, they should have liked, right? Because if someone was offering Miller a contract like that, which they were never going to give him, they would get picks in return, which is what they got here. So I think it's funny how like general managers are trying to, stick to their guns and really puff their chest out and be like, yeah, don't do it. We'll handle it. Like, okay, let's see you try.
And then the Hurricanes couldn't protect the pick like they did in this trade. They made it top 10 protected. If they just go and they sign K'Andre Miller to $7.5 million, that's a first, a second, and it's a third. So it's less of a package, but I would much rather, and I know the Hurricanes are going to make the playoffs, but like I said, you're seeing how scared teams are of giving up unprotected firsts. If a team is going to offer sheet my guy and give me an unprotected first that we've seen in other leagues, and we saw this year with the first overall pick, it's not the 5th, 6th, 7th best odds that always win the lottery, or the best odds. Sometimes it is like the 9th or 10th. So if a team, depending on the situation, I'm not afraid of an offer sheet if I'm one of these teams.
From one unbelievable blue line in Carolina to just a blue line in LA, what did you make of Ken Holland's day yesterday?
No, it's an unbelievable blue line. 100%. It is unbelievable, just in all the wrong ways. Welcome back, Ken Holland. I mean, shit. The Kings needed to do something. They needed anything, right? They need a change. Every year, it's the same problem, season after season. They're losing to the Oilers. How they think this is the solution, I don't understand. It's so Ken Holland, it hurts. And I don't understand how, if you hired him in LA, you didn't see this one coming, right? Because here are guys that he has worked with before in Edmonton and Perry and Ceci, but also here's a blue line that we saw what he put together in Edmonton, right? So it's all wrong, because I get it. You have Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty that you could say, well, they could shoulder top minutes. We don't need Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin to do that. And maybe if they're a third pair, they'll be fine. Maybe, right? The Kings have the structure to insulate them, maybe. But also, then you can just poke holes in all of that, because you're not paying these guys and signing them to 3-4 year deals here to have them play on the third pair. The other part of it is a team has their structure systematically, but at the end of the day, don't you think the pieces within that structure kind of matter if they're going to be able to like maintain that year after year? Now you're factoring in Ceci, Dumoulin, and you already have Joel Edmondson. You're going, yeah, we can maintain that structure. Like, I have a million question marks on why they thought, let's get older and slower when we keep losing to the Oilers, right? And also, let's go with guys that look completely overwhelmed by their workloads. Ceci, I know the numbers are worse than they should be because of the minutes he plays, and he did that in Edmonton, and it burned them in the playoffs. Who knew that would happen? And it happened in Dallas. He played way more than he should have. At what point do you think, yes, these are the guys that we want to trot out against? If not McDavid, Draisaitl in the playoffs last year, that's going to get us further.
The observation we made yesterday was that there is conversation, maybe incorrect, that Connor McDavid is looking at what the Oilers have and says, this is not good enough for me, Connor McDavid. Another team that does not have Connor McDavid is saying, let's take that roster, which is crazy. And we love Cody Ceci. We love Corey Perry. The note I will make for the Kings is a big critique I have had of them is my favorite stat is guys. How many guys do you have on your team? The Kings don't have a lot of guys. The Kings don't have a lot of like really good players. And we saw it was to their detriment where they were afraid to play guys, where they were like, I mean, it forced Jordan Spence to be like, yo, get me out of here. Why aren't you playing me? So they at least have more guys now. But as you said, they're older, they're slower. They'll like, I don't know how much better they are than they were. And that's a lot of movement to not get better.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Ceci, we love Ceci as a person. We think that Ceci can often be unfairly maligned in the roles that he's placed in and can be a very, very useful player. But $8.5 million committed to Brian Dumoulin and Cody Ceci in the span of like 30 seconds yesterday was so hard to wrap my head around. And I agree with the assessment that you just gave, which is like they did a lot, but how much better did they get on the whole? Like, what do you think, Shayna? How much better are they today than they were yesterday?
They're not. I would have just overpaid Gavrikov if I'm the Kings because he's that top 4 guy. And I think a difference too between him and someone like Cece is we kind of try to project how are guys going to age into their 30s, right? You hit 30, it's that scary number, and then you just go south from there. And everybody talks about it when you like hear about contracts and free agents. And it's true. But like the miles Cody Cece has at this point, and that you already see them kind of have that wear and tear on him versus Gavrikov, you're like, so you got 2 guys who are very one-dimensional instead of just having the one really good shutdown guy that would help you take some of the workload off of Drew Doughty's shoulders. It just is all odd to me. I get it. They didn't feel like they could trust Spence in those minutes, but I would rather be taking a gamble on him and Clark and seeing what you can do to, pick up the pace a little bit, maintain the defensive structure you have, but sprinkle in more offense. I think that was the key to their offseason. So I just I have a lot of problems with this, and now you're taking up more cap space when you should have been using the flexibility you had to, I don't know, maybe go after one more really good puck moving forward. I feel like that's what they need. I like having Kuzmenko there. I think he was pretty excellent post deadline.
Awesome.
I think that they know how to maximize his skills better than most teams do because they have all of that two-way strength, but you need more of that. You need more scoring pop. That's what would have made them better. Give me more scoring pop, even if it means you're a little bit riskier back in your own zone. And now you're one-dimensional and risky in your own zone. So I cannot say they got better at all.
I'm worried about Brandt Clark, a guy who they've been like extending themselves to really shelter and protect and put him in the right situations. And now, like, you're one Drew Doughty bone injury away from him being your number 1 defenseman. And oh boy, I'm worried about him. He's a special player, but he could be in for a rough sledding this year.
Who do you think poses the biggest threat to the Panthers right now? Because we can pretend that the Panthers aren't favorites to do it again. And at some point, one of these years, maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year, I made the comparison to Glastonbury where every 4 years or whatever, they don't hold the festival because the grounds just need a rest. It's one of these years, one of the next couple of years, the Florida Panthers will lose in one of the first couple of rounds and they'll get their rest and then they'll go back to winning Stanley Cups. But right now, who do you think after the moves of the last couple of days poses the best threat? Like, has Vegas gotten there? Do you think Dallas is in the mix? The Oilers swap out Arvidsson for Mangiapane? Who would you say?
I'm going to go with Vegas. Although, because Corey Perry signed in LA, part of me is like, all right, they're going to the Cup Finals, so Vegas, you're actually shit out of luck. Who knew? But no, I will go with Vegas there because I really like what they did. I know they play games with the cap and everything with Pietrangelo, and they still have to find a way to replace him. It helps that you have Shea Theodore because, like, the whole threat of Vegas the last few years is like, look, 2 shutdown centers who can go up against 2 really good lines. And look, 2 shutdown D pairs if you need it in between Theodore and Pietrangelo. Like, it's a really good thing to have. So the goaltending was shaky last year. So if the defense isn't as good, I'm a little bit more worried there with Hill. It depends who they get as a backup. But at the end of the day, their biggest need was replenishing what they've stripped away on the wings, right? They've done so much so they can build up that center depth and that defensive depth. I think Haig, moving him was the right call. I think his game really stepped back in a third pair role. I think we know he's better than what he was last year, but it wasn't very good. And if you're going to lose a center and you didn't lose Carlson or Hertl, or obviously Eichel, you did something right. But now you have Mitch Marner, who, I mean, that poor guy. I feel so bad for him the way everyone talks about him. I think it's the perfect fit for him stylistically. Whether he plays with Hertl or Eichel, I think he's going to be sick. But I think also the different vibes and different market of it all is huge because just getting out of Toronto, I feel like he should have the weight of the world off his shoulder. So I really hope he can just cook in the postseason and put that narrative behind him. And I feel like playing with someone like Eichel is kind of good for that, right? Because we heard so many things about Jack Eichel. Oh, he's going to be terrible in the playoffs and this and that when he left Buffalo. And oh, look, he probably should have won the Conn Smythe the year that they won. So I feel like that'll hopefully trickle over to Marner.
Do you see, based off of what has happened this offseason or just like any of your projections, like who are your drop in and out like playoff teams heading into the next year?
Oh, I like that question a lot. I want to hold on. I'm pulling up the standing so I can like perfectly look at this because my brain is totally melted after the last day.
I hear
Um,
you. I mean, I'm exhausted and my brain
it's
and the Bruins are not helping. The Bruins are just absolutely destroying the 3 brain cells I have left. So,
it's
um,
fair.
yeah.
Drop in or out. It's tough because I kind of feel like the best teams really made it. I'm gonna really go out there. I'm gonna say LA is gonna be my drop out team because I think St. Louis, I don't love what they did, but I think a healthy Holloway makes them so much better than they were last spring through half of that run when he got hurt. So I feel like they could do it again and really build off of that. So if someone has to slip out in the West, I'm just gonna say the Kings. They're gonna do something wrong. I feel like Darcy Kemper had such a good year, and I don't think he got enough credit for it because everyone will say, "Oh, it was the team in front of him." But now I think he's going to be so exposed that everyone's going to say, "Well, Darcy Kemper is the problem." When it's like, no, they just can't convert on their chances, and they didn't do anything to fix it. And now their defense is shit on top of it. So I'm sorry, LA, you're out in my book.
What do you think about Vancouver? Because Vancouver kind of kept a couple pieces with Demko and Besser, which kind of shocked everybody yesterday that they returned Besser. So like they're not going to look extremely different, but when I look at Vancouver last year, almost everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for them, and it was just an absolute mess. So if things stabilize, can you see them getting back into that picture?
They could totally. Will they have healthy goaltending? Is it going to be Kevin Lankinen against the world? If Quinn Hughes is healthy, he's going to drag that team into the playoffs. So yes, I could see them getting back there. I just everything management does there. I feel like I have to like refresh my page and make sure it's like not a typo when I see something posted like that Demko contract. I'm going, what are you thinking and why are you doing this a year early? As good as we know Demko can be, it's just like why are you falling into these traps? Like nobody's forcing you to do this. Even they were going after Christian Dvorak, and you look at the price that the Flyers ultimately paid, but I don't know if it would have been that high if Vancouver wasn't also in on him. So I just don't know if they have the right direction. I don't love their center depth. I think having Besser is pretty big though because he's a flawed player, but I think they know how to get the best out of him. And I think Pettersson's going to be better too. I am very curious how he looks under a different coaching staff because I do think at times Tocchet was trying to get him to be something he's not instead of just playing him to his strengths. So I think all of those things work in their favor, and you can see teams with a solid core, which they have between Pettersson and Besser and Hughes and Demko and Net, do a lot, even if they have replaceable pieces around them. But I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of time for management to screw things up more.
Do you like Mikhail Granlund to Anaheim? I think that that's just like the ultimate fuck, might as well.
Yeah.
We have the space, and it seems that we're not going to get any of the other guys, so let's just do it. I like it for them, and I put them as maybe not playoff team, but in the hunt watch. They're on watch to be in the hunt. They won't necessarily be in the hunt, but they'll be kind of in the conversation.
They better be at this point, right? All these teams, we get to enjoy them for like 4 seconds, right? These up and coming teams, you look at the Sabres, the Ducks, we have these fun years, and then they just follow it up with painfully boring years. So please do be interesting. That would be great for everyone. But I like the idea of Granlund there. I don't love the term as much because it's going to be a little bit different than we saw like, oh, he has a year left. He can be flipped to a contender and you can get something out of it. Like there's a much bigger commitment here. But I also think the Ducks should feel confident knowing if they need him to play big minutes in power play 1, that's when he can play his best hockey, right? Don't bury him on the third line and he'll be fine. And the Sharks showed that versus whatever the hell happened in Pittsburgh a couple years ago. I thought it was interesting. He was one of those few contracts where we saw like a bad team give someone more money to play with them so they have guys to play around their, up and coming core. I don't think the Sharks did it as much. The Blackhawks sure as hell didn't do it. So cool. But I also feel like of the bad teams, they're the ones that didn't need to do it as much because they have Kreider and Trouba and Killorn already. But it could work there. I'm dying to see these like younger guys progress. And I thought Greg Cronin was going to do that and it didn't happen. So who knows what'll go on this year.
I did see you write, I think this morning, that a big loser in free agency were the bottom dwelling teams that had a ton of money because a number of those teams didn't do shit with that money. And DJ mentioned the Granlund ad. It's like, may as well. We've got a bunch of money and it's not going to like kill us or anything. What are these teams like the Sharks or the Blackhawks who desperately need something to propel them forward a little bit other than just the progression of young guys? Like, what's their next step?
Good question. The Sharks, I liked what they did last year, and they brought in all these players and they filled up their cap with these guys, and then they moved out a lot of pieces at the deadline. You go, okay, that's going to help you with with your rebuild. You have assets in return that you can use, more first round picks. Always a good thing to have. But you're also like taking the pressure off the young guys because you have other players to step up around them. And I think it's really important because sometimes with bad teams, we see them draft the superstar, throw them in and go, well, they're going to be our saving grace in them alone. And then you're just overwhelming them day one. And then you worry about what their trajectory is going to be from there. And if you screwed up their developmental path. So I think it would be a good thing to have more guys to go around those young guys. And then you'll have a team of pretty good guys. Like there's a blueprint there to follow. But I think we're kind of seeing not everybody wants to do that, right? Like the money is there from playoff teams and contenders like Vegas, like Carolina. So you don't have to necessarily go to a bad team to get a pretty solid contract. And at the end of the day, you have to make that trade-off. Do you want to make a shit ton of money and just be miserable and hope you get flipped somewhere? Or do you want to play for a pretty good team? So it's going to be tough for the Blackhawks and the Sharks to navigate this. But I think having all that space, like I would imagine they're going to make some trades. So say someone wants to throw an offer sheet out, or say someone wants to sign Ehlers, maybe then a team's going to have to clear cap and they can benefit from it. But it's pretty tough for them. I think it's worse for Chicago right now than San Jose because at least the vibes in San Jose were so good last year. Like they were the most fun bad team out there, honestly. So that's something to build off of. The Blackhawks have to get to that point first and then try to go upwards.
I said it a million times. I think the Sharks went too far with that shit. I think that they were so fun and they were so bad. And I loved that. And I watched them as much as I possibly could. And it was trading Zetterlund that made me say, you know what? Like, fuck it. I'm out on this. Like you're trading a young guy whose rights you have, like an RF. Thank you for nodding along because I got so much shit for saying this. People were like, it's a rebuild. You're being
I said the same thing. The Zetterlund trade was my breaking point. Like, that was too far. He's part of the solution, not the problem. Also, don't break up this team too much. I'm 100% with you.
Even Wallman, and I know you got a first-round pick for him, and it's so good of asset management to say we got paid to take him, and then we got a first-round pick. But I'm like, yo, you have to have actual NHL players on your team, and you are getting rid of young guys who will be there when you're good. And to your point, I mean, I didn't even bring this up. I could have used that ammunition in my argument of it does take pressure off of these young guys to be like, we've got Jake Wallman. We've got, for some reason, first pairing Jake Wallman to take away from you, all of you guys having to shoulder everything. But yeah, it got to be too much for me, but I'm still pulling for the Sharks to eventually turn it around. We have not discussed Andrew Mangiapane, and I am going to choose to punt on that so I can replace the Mangiapane question with a different Oilers question to fill the Oilers allotment of this show. They didn't do anything in goal. They haven't so far. And the issue that I think they face, because Stan Bowman talked about it when he was saying that, every round of the playoffs, we have the better goaltending until we face Sergei Bobrovsky, and then it all goes to shit. They haven't done anything in net. Do you think that they should have, given what we've seen, or does this kind of not surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me because the free agent market is
ass.
Oh my God, it's so bad. Like, I understand that, right? You don't have a ton of cap space. Don't just give it away to fill a position because your goalie situation sucks. Because I don't know if you're going to get it any better. Maybe you'll get it a little calmer, which I don't understand why this team, through multiple general managers, goes, we need the most chaotic crease in the world. Because even watching Pickard play, he plays so aggressively that I'm like, please get back in your net. Like, I am anxious watching you. So I can't imagine management being like, yes, this is the answer. But I don't think the answer was there in the free agent market. It's just now they have to look for that smart trade. And I think of the Blackwood deal as the perfect model for them to follow. But then you actually have to spot those goalies on bad teams and those cheaper options. And I don't trust management to do it. Like, I had questions about management in the past in Edmonton, but it's even worse with Bowman because I genuinely think he's a bad general manager. So it's even tougher there. But if I'm the Oilers, the guy I am looking at is Shelovs. that is the one I'm going. I want him. He's coming off, winning MVP honors in the AHL final right there. And he's young and he's cheap and he handled chaos in Vancouver. I like his chances, but I could see the Canucks being like, we're going to charge you 10 times more because you're in our division. And it feels like the Canucks are one of these really weirdly stubborn teams about that, right? Because at the end of the day, you should be worried, oh, we don't want to face this guy X times a year. And I understand that. If you're talking about Connor McDavid and Quinn Hughes and Mitch Marner, I'll have that conversation. But when you're not talking about a superstar, so many times teams just like shoot themselves in the foot to avoid trading to someone nearby. So if they can get past that, I feel like that is the perfect trade target for them.
It's also, that's part of the reason why the Demko thing confused me so much, or them jumping to give him an extension. It's like Demko could have been the guy that you trade to the Oilers if you don't like what you see from him next year. But at this point, like, I think Shelov's makes a ton of sense, but also like he's your insurance policy if the Demko thing doesn't work out. Like if you have to stash Demko on LTIR or whatever, like he's your insurance policy. So I agree with you that like they're going to have to look and identify to find their next guy.
We have breaking Oilers news.
Oh boy.
Okay.
It is two-pronged. One, the Oilers have signed Curtis Lazar on a 1-year contract.
Nice.
That's
two,
the key.
this is the most breaking news of it. Apparently, Curtis Lazar was... it says Kings. Oh, okay. Edmonton Oil King. It says, we signed former Edmonton Oil Kings star. I misread it as saying, like, we have signed star forward Curtis Lazar. And I was going to say breaking news was that Curtis Lazar was a star. I chunked that. But that's the breaking news there. They get Curtis Lazar. I like your Shelov's point. And to answer your question of why has multiple management groups said, let's get the most chaotic goaltending possible, the answer obviously is because of the Oilers and they're cool as fuck and they want their games to be a party. So I've got no problem with that. Thank you for noting, though, that that Calvin Pickard is way more of a mess than people think. When people were like, you know what, you gotta at least know what you're getting with Calvin Pickard. And yes, you're getting a fucking wide open 5-hole or a guy who is doing laps around his net the entire game
And is somehow still the most stable
and is
goalie in
still
that team.
like somehow going to actually calm it down a little bit. But you know what? His point, they are in a tough position. Stu Skinner is the worst goalie to have for this position where they're like, we need to upgrade our goaltending because everybody they look at, okay, at their best, are they better than Stu Skinner at their best? No, because for some reason when Stu Skinner is at his best, he gives up 0 goals for like 5 games in a row. So the problem there is at their best, only like 2 guys in the league are better than Stu Skinner at his best. But they need, like, I wish that somehow Swayman could shake free for them, but it's not going to. And any of these easy fits, it's all going to have to be some sort of a broken toy. And I agree that Shelov's is a good one, but I wonder if the Podkolzin move is going to fucking get in the way of that, where they're like, you know what? We threw away Podkolzin to them, and he ended up being a useful player. Never again.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
a very, very Canucks problem to have. That is 100% something that could happen, that they're going to be salty and be like, nope. And now more people are going to talk shit about them. And we know they're very sensitive about that.
Canucks just ruining every franchise, including their own. Although I do like, Pete said he likes the Canucks. I kind of do too, because they replaced Brock Besser,
With
and
Brock
then
Besser.
they signed Brock Besser.
Yeah.
They got Evander Kane, which like not a great replacement, but they were like, okay, that's the replacement.
But like even
hi Brock.
even in keeping Brock Besser, they like fucked themselves because they
Sounds like them.
they let him get to free agency and then they won the free agency sweepstakes for Brock Besser. It's like pretty incredible. I don't know.
It could
Okay,
have been worse, though. Could have been worse. He could have asked for like $9 million and they could have given it to him. And then you go, oh my God, that's a bad contract day one.
Okay, we have kept you way too long, so we're gonna keep you a little longer. Shayna sews.
I did know this. Yeah.
People don't know this about me. but
Upcycling, I think is the word,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
How's that going?
It's great. I'm very excited to get back to it because I have not touched my sewing machine in like a month. I've been very busy with all of this chaos of the playoffs. And before that, I was like doing wrestling costumes for a party. So now I'm like ready to rip, get back on it. And I cut a bunch of patterns the other day. So I'm pumped.
What machine are you working with?
DJ's getting into sewing.
Yeah, I love this. So I have a Juki. it is my favorite machine in the world. I have the Brother heavy duty Serger. It's pretty good. I have the Singer heavy duty manual one. I used to have the computerized one and it had the thread cutter, but it constantly broke. But the Juki is the best thing I have ever owned, and I don't think I'll ever buy another brand.
Okay, I'm going to be looking into that. I'm just doing the Singer 4411 myself. I was told that if you're getting into sewing, that's the one that you grab, but I don't know. I'm learning about seam allowances, and I'm going to make Pete some jerseys that he has not asked for, but I'm going to do it for him.
That's the key to it. You have to just make a ton of shit and just hand it to people, and they have to be happy because you made them something. And in the beginning, it's probably not going to be good. But then when you make good things, the whole time, like, you're excited that they're pumped, but you're going to be staring at them and be like, I made that. And it's the best feeling.
Fuck yes. All right, Shayna, you are the greatest. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that is the great Shayna Goldman of the Too Many Men podcast, of The Athletic. And Shayna's a good guest because when you have people on, you're like, this is what we're going to talk about. And you don't want to put them on the spot with certain things. It is as though she is a beat writer of every team in the NHL.
Cannot put her on the spot.
Know what. Yeah, which, like, if I went on a podcast to talk Oilers or whatever, and somebody was like, okay, what are the Predators going to do about their third line? I'd be like, I don't know who's on their second line. So
there you go.
That's why we get these athletic folk. Okay, we talked about a little Kings there. I just got to say, the idea of them doing all this and then missing the playoffs would be
so sad.
Like head rolling time.
Like missing the playoffs, then Kopitar retiring,
yes.
Like Doughty on the way out. Oh boy. Kings could be in a real tough situation. I'm not willing to say that they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm not willing to say that they're going to suck, but I don't know how much better they got. And like we loved the idea of Cody Ceci going to them when we heard that whispered in our ear a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't see it being that contract, and I didn't see it.
Oh, I did.
You did?
I mean, I thought it was going to be 3 times 5, and it ended up being 4 times 4.5.
Yeah. And like ultimately, it's a fine deal if you have the pieces around him, and he's not that important. It seems like they're making Cody Ceci pretty important, and also Brian Dumoulin pretty important. And
I feel like every team that gets Cody Ceci recently makes him so fucking important.
It's wild.
Which I don't know any other player that does that, where they get somewhere and then just immediately it's like, you're going to like me too much. I'm trying to think, like, has anyone ever been cast for a movie to be like the 10th lead, and then after a day of shooting, the director is like, fuck, I'm sorry, we got to rewrite this thing. I don't know. Like, I fucking, this person's a fucking star. I got to make them the face of this thing. And everyone's like, really? It's like, yeah, and you know what? Let's like quadruple what they're making.
I mean, that's Matty Matheson in The Bear, and you hate it.
I finished the long episode of the, I don't know if it was like a wedding, like the night before type of thing. You know what I'm talking about? The night before the ex-wife's wedding.
I've not gotten there.
Sean, you there?
3 episodes deep.
Okay. Well, there's a very long episode that's a bunch of family stuff and everything, and it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the facts thing has to end. They added another fact, and this fact, let me tell you, is just, it's too much. And it's the Bear doing the thing that the Bear does, which is like, we've got an Oscar winner to play another role. And as soon as I saw this fact, I was like, get that fact away from me. Get that shit.
People love the
out
facts
of there.
though, so I don't know.
I don't know what they do. I threw it out there. I thought I was going to get shit on for it, and people were like,
pretty polarizing.
Get rid of every fact character.
It's pretty
Although
polarizing.
I like that one of them is in love.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I love that they're giving us more computer this season.
Yeah, computer's my guy.
Computer rocks. It was just a random Oakland
Raiders
hat
Yeah.
in the mix. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all we've got for you today. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
We will have more stuff as it is happening. We will give you the videos. We will give you everything. So make sure you are subscribed. And we got some guests coming up too as well. We're going to be doing player stuff during the offseason because that's what we do. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Twitter, to the Blue Ski, to the Instagram, to the TikTok even, folks. And Pete, tell them to
Amplify, 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 amplify. You can do that however you choose, but it includes subscribing to the YouTube channel. It includes liking a video. It includes hammering that thumbs up button right below the video player. That's what I just said, was the liking. You can comment on the videos. That helps as well. Anything that feeds the algorithm feeds us and keeps food on the table. Sean, how you eating these days?
Fine. Food. I'm alive.
What'd you choose for the plate at my wedding?
I haven't done it yet.
RSVP to my wedding, Sean. God damn
I
it.
didn't finish it. I didn't finish the thing. I looked at it. I'm gonna get the steak, obviously.
So I usually default to beef.
I saw the prosciutto on the chicken though, and
Dude, the chicken is unbelievable.
Is it like a chicken saltimbocca situation or what?
That's too big of a word for me.
I just saw that there was prosciutto involved. There's
like
pesto involved though.
A little cheese, a little prosciutto inside the chicken.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a chicken saltimbocca, where it's like
too big of a word for me.
Stuffed with. That's really good.
It is unbelievable. As a person who always goes beef, had to go with the chicken because it was so delicious. So just keep that in mind.
By the way, we got the conclusion to our poll. 69% of people confirmed what we already knew. No, yes, nice. Confirmed what we already knew, that it was I don't know how to work my face.
Yes, that's what I thought it was.
Yes.
I'm usually pointing out that you're making a face. That's how you learn that you're making a face.
Speaking of 69 and nice, I do want to give a quick shout out to Bob McKenzie, who announced his full-time retirement yesterday at the age of 69, and he did sneak in a nice joke in his nice little goodbye Twitter post. Bob McKenzie is legitimately like the greatest to ever do it. I fucking love that guy so much. He was the gold standard of reporting and just being an analyst and all that good stuff. And like every nice, good word that's been said about that man has been so well earned and well deserved. He was extremely, extremely nice to me, and I know you as well. I don't know. I can't speak to how much like he's worked with you in terms of like hockey stuff. We did brunch stuff with him. Bobby Margs, he was so fucking nice and kind to us at every stage, even when we were just fucking bozos who asked him to do ridiculous shit like the Thunder video that we did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like just so nice and kind to us at every step. And that man deserves the most peaceful and beautiful retirement. As well.
I saw a bunch of reporters yesterday I was going to try to summarize it, but I was like, I'm going to put this wrong and it's just going to sound like the media people making stuff about themselves. But I could just clearly see that every reporter, and it was a lot of Canadian folks, but like any of us who got to cross paths with him a lot when covering stuff, being fucking pumped that they did it at the same time as Bob McKenzie. Whether it's Pierre LeBrun, whether it's CJ, whether it's people who are like insiders and we're doing the same sort of thing or trying to do the same sort of thing as him, or people like me who were beat writers who were at games and they'd see him and they'd talk to him, whatever, and get to know him. Everyone being like, shit, we did it at the same time as this guy. We got to, like, I feel bad for young people getting into hockey who didn't get to have the Bob McKenzie experience. He was amazing. And there's so many good insiders who do the insider part of it. And there's so many personalities who do the personality part of it. Right now, I would say the closest thing that we have to that is what Elliot is doing right now in Canada. And it's absolutely amazing, where people love the person and they are just like suckling at the teat, waiting for more. Like, just give me more information. Like, what do you got? What can you do? Wait, like turning on alerts, all these things. Elliot does that kind of thing, but he does it in his own way. And I guess that makes this a celebration of Elliot as well. But so many people at some point were like, how can I be a little more like Bob McKenzie? Or they were people like me who was just like, I'm not really doing the same thing as this person. I'm just fucking pumped that Bob McKenzie's over there, or that I'm talking to Bob McKenzie. He rules. As you said, every nice thing that's been said about him is correct. And you meet a lot of people where you're like, that's the nicest people you'll meet in the world. But every now and then there's a few people who exceed that, and that's Bob McKenzie. He absolutely rules. Canadian legend, hockey legend, the GOAT.
Yeah,
truly, truly, truly the GOAT. Somebody said, DJ, tie your shoes. I will shoot back at them and say, fuck yourself. My shoes were tied. Is that if that's a
It's-
major look, then
you got
amazing work.
You got some droopy ass laces.
Yeah, your laces were hanging. They looked untied from the camera.
Well, they weren't untied, so that's your pro. How
I think
they
you
don't have droopy ass laces.
You got droopy ass laces, brother.
No, droopy laces are when they go to the.
When you had your leg crossed.
No. This one does go below. Okay, I'll give
Droopy.
that to you. Yeah,
Droop.
drooped
Big
a
droop.
little. No, not big.
Big droop.
Barely drooping.
Big droop energy.
What was that you were saying about you were happy for Diddy before the show? Pete?
Yeah, shout out to my guy Diddy. He's free.
Gross.
Ish.
Yeah,
Still going to jail.
He's
for a little
going to
bit.
jail.
It's not my guy.
Just not for life.
Not my guy.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.